and getting the word out so that people know. And we're going to get ready to get started. It has been a long week, y'all. And as I said last week, I had to stop the whole taping anything because I was in a bit of chronic pain. The pandemic kind of held up a lot of preventive procedures I was getting done for the fibroids. And when you don't get help for certain things, that can prop back up on you. And that is going to be a part of what we talk about tonight because there's an issue that I think a lot of people who are suffering from this can understand, but a lot of you who don't understand mental health issues need to be watching this tonight because too many people downplay it. Too many people don't see mental health as something to guard or be protective of or to even take seriously, and it's beyond time we have frank conversation about that. And I'm fired up because last night before I went to bed, and it was already a weird day because I got woken up super early. They go Stream Elements, letting everybody know I'm live. Uh, by a phone call from the people who previously owned the phone numbers that I currently have. And that was jarring. And I was woken up, so I couldn't get back to sleep. So I do the thing that I probably shouldn't have done. I go on social media. And right off the bat, I'm inundated by idiotic takes. And as much as I love Twitter, it has been a constant source of aggravation of late. And there are a lot of fragile white people making really, hey, Kilky, welcome to the chat, making some asinine statements. One of them being that the word redneck is on the same level as the N word. How we know they're not on the same level was this person was very clearly able to type out the word redneck, but decided very wisely not to type out the other actual slur. I made it clear there is a big difference between redneck, which many people said Jeff Foxworthy made a whole career off of saying that word, versus the N word, which I've been called. And I had people who followed me decide that this would be the time they would educate a black woman on how maybe I needed to be more sensitive to how some people take the word redneck. And I'm going to stop you right there. I don't get angry a lot anymore because I realize that anger is way too much of an easy button for me. But when I tell you yesterday, I said the heck with that and I got angry, I felt this to the core of my soul. You are not going to come into a black person's mentions telling me how to be sensitive to any kind of racial insensitivity. You're not going to act like redneck is on the same level as the N word. I am done playing these kind of games. I get it. Everybody wants to be sensitive to certain words. Nobody should be mocking people. But nowhere in my commentary was I calling the person a redneck. I said that the words aren't comparable because they're not. The N word was used to dehumanize people that were taken from their home continent, implanted onto another continent, told to work for free for several different countries, not just the US. The Caribbean, South America, all have their brushes with the slave trade. So those of you who got Adams by your name who want to keep it an American thing only, shut the fuck up and open up a history book. But to get back on track with my tangent, to even try to suggest the word redneck is the same as the N word when it was historically known that it was meant to target black people, to devalue and dehumanize us. When redneck is been used as a term of endearment. I lived in the freaking most southern parts of Florida, southern parts of South Carolina and Georgia. And if the word redneck was as offensive as the N word, trust me, I would have known. So it just hit the deepest core of my nerve to have somebody who follows me try to tell me that I needed to be more sensitive to how that person might take being called a redneck, because no, we're not doing that, y'all. And it set me off. And then I spent 17 hours up just in my head like, was I wrong? on calling somebody out for being upset over the word redneck. And my consensus, all the voices included, fuck no, I wasn't. And thank you. Hey, welcome to the chat, G. Feldman. I couldn't believe that that was my day as it was, because it was bad enough that the woman who called and woke me up really felt like she was talking down to the person she thought she was talking to. Hey, you woke me up, so my brain was already foggy. And you're telling me about an application. I thought these were the people calling about my son, because I had the healthcare plan say that because kiddo's autistic, they might be calling me on some extra funds that I can use for his growing up, which I'm not going to say no to any extra funds to help my son. I don't think any parent should. But it wasn't that. The young lady who used to have my number obviously applied for food assistance and didn't update her number. But the social worker was being so condescending until she realized that, oops, I messed up. This isn't the woman I thought I was talking to. And she was very nice in her apology. But the way she talked to me at first, I was like, I know that her client might be a younger black child or black woman, because I don't want to call a grown woman a child, but you don't talk to people like that. And I feel like I felt how disrespected she would have been to me 20, maybe even 30 years ago, until she realized that she was talking to an older woman, clearly more educated, and did not deserve to be spoken to on that level. I just, it's exhausting. Racism is exhausting, y'all, and you don't get a break from it when you're black. And it's hard not to see the tones when it's been in your face. And having it be so blatant and having people treat you like you're less than because you're actually getting assistance, and having people talk down to you, oh, you really don't know how to fill out an application, do you? And I was like, what are you talking about? I wasn't asked to fill out an application. I was told that, if I wanted to speak with somebody about help for my son. And then she realized that our wires got crossed, and it was just like her whole tone changed after that. And it was like, if I had been who she was supposed to be talking to, would she have become more friendly, or would she have still been as condescending and mean? I don't think people understand how that affects our mental health when we know people look at us as less than for daring to seek out help for our kids. And if you're getting assistance like food money or even a welfare check, you shouldn't feel shamed for that. We need to stop that societal pressure that somehow getting help to survive is a bad thing. And we need to stop acting like it's only black people on that and it's because we're low educated. I have a college degree and I have been on food stamps, and I would get on food stamps again if I could in this state. But unfortunately for me, the ties that I have to my ex makes it impossible for me, not impossible for my son. So I make sure to get food for my son. And I am not going to act like there is shame in that. I really do not understand that either. But there are people out there that try to put a stigma on it, and I am going to do my best to eliminate that stigma, because there should be no shame in getting help. I am just so tired of the boulders we place in front of people. We make it so shameful for people to just survive and live, and make it such a pinnacle to be selfish and self-centered and greedy. That is so frustrating. Welcome to the chat, Witty One. Thank you so much. I just feel like there are too many people with like twisted thoughts on what's acceptable and what's not, and that families that are struggling deserve to be looked down upon is unacceptable. And it plays into your getting help. You know how costly it is? Because I tell people all the time, being a person that has mental health issues, my health insurance does not cover going to therapy and the psychiatrist. I had to get state assistance so that I can afford the medication and the visits to get help. If you don't have that, what are you supposed to do? Just have non-lucid days? As a parent, I can't afford that. And I refuse to let people shame me as if I didn't work my ass off to be able to afford to get to this point. Some people don't have that luxury and they don't deserve to be shamed because they need help. Protecting and doing everything you can to have a stable mental health is so vital. And if you are at a level where you have money, that doesn't take from you protecting your mental health either. One of the things that I seen this week that really frustrated me was that attack on Simone Biles for saying that that vote that she did, which many gymnasts who have trained all their life said scared them, put her in the mindset that she could not mentally focus. So she stayed out of the Olympic Games. Naomi Osaka did the same thing when all the pressure of having to do interviews, which still don't make sense to me, got to her and she stayed out of the open. Putting your mental health so that you can do what you love is so important. Just like putting physical health. Last week, I wanted to do the Gen X Cynics cast. I compiled all the people's answers. I had my own answers for classic TV, but I not only mentally but physically could not do it. You cannot push yourself when you're not there. You will not be able to give what you want to give. I love doing this cast. I love doing the Gen X Syncs cast. I have found my home in streaming. But when I am not feeling it, it is better to let people know, hey, this ain't it, and just relax than to try to power through it, not enjoy it, and put forth crap. And I think too many people think, especially that women owe them our devotion to just power through the pain. That's selflessness. No, it is okay to put your self worth, your mental health, and everything else as a top priority. Because if you don't have that, how are you going to give 100%? Exactly. Exactly, Kilky. It is so frustrating that even talking about mental health is still met with jokes, which I'm going to get to in a minute because I'm about to go off here. Welcome to the chat, one cute guy. Seriously, though, the fact that we can't even talk about mental health without it being the butt of people's jokes or people still not understanding, the internet has plenty of places where you can look up different disorders. Welcome to the chat, one fat bun don. Seriously, I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand that mental health is prevalent. Over 25 million Americans suffer from some form of disorder or depression or anxiety. It's not a punchline. And to have somebody who is semi famous, I don't know how many of y'all know Mike Che. Micheal Che, he's on SNL. He does what's that news thing they do on there? Weekday tonight or whatever. He's a comedian of sorts. And I don't play Warzone. The games I currently play are DDO, Dungeons and Dragons Online, Dragon's Age. I'm currently playing Pokemon Unite, and I play some mobile games like Fate Grand Order. I've been asked to play things like DayZ. I will be trying to play more games as I can, but right now, no. Was somebody being rude? Yeah, I mentioned the Bonnet shower cat. Okay. My favorite Pokemon is Gardevoir, and Bulbasaur will always be my favorite Gen 1. I've been using Gardevoir in Pokemon Unite, so if you see me, you will probably see me with her or Lucario. But back to the Micheal Che thing. He decided that he wanted to use his Instagram to make jokes about Simone Biles and a tragic thing that happened to her back in the day. And as a survivor, oh, thank you. Axiom gets me a lot of these. I have a D20, I have my 5-point star, and my Pearl of Wisdom. Simone Biles went through some stuff back in the day. She was trained at Ohio State. And for those of you who don't know the history of that, Ohio State had some really deep stuff going on with Larry Nassar. Larry Nassar, that is my mod and my boyfriend Axiom Wolf. He also has his own channel on here. um, what Larry Nassar did was horrible. And as somebody who, as a child, went through trauma and assault, it's hard to even talk about it. So I'm not going to get into details. But Simone Biles survived the Larry Nassar thing. And he'll probably pop up on camera, and he might pop up later on too. The thing is, she survived some nasty stuff, and she went on to not only win Olympic gold, and Benny, we can do that later. Uh, she went on to talk about what she went through. And it is not easy as a survivor to talk about what you've gone through. So to have somebody who's old enough to know better, like Micheal Che, make jokes about what she went through is unacceptable. And it's because everybody punches down on those with mental health issues. It's real funny that guys like what's that rotting ham meat, some English guy, he likes picking on black women, especially Meghan Markle. I'm blanking on his name, but I just seen a horrible picture of him earlier. Whatever, a journalist guy decided to punch down on Naomi Osaka before, and then decided that he was going to go after Simone Biles because protecting mental health for women has always been a joke. I've talked about the history of mental health and how women are classified as hysterical a lot, and all the sexual remedies that were. Thank you for that witty one, Piers Morgan, that putrefied piece of crap. It is extremely hard for women to openly talk about our mental health without people dismissing it. I don't know why he's your idol, Benny. He is a very deranged person. I will leave it at that. The fact of the matter is, he likes to punch down because for mental health, a lot of people don't take it seriously unless they're going through it. I would counter that, Benny. I would counter that very strongly. A very nice person doesn't make his living off of mocking people for doing things that are natural. He even attacks men who want to hold their babies. What nice person does that? I will speak down on his name. You're in my chat. I'm not in yours. If you like Piers Morgan, go do your own show. Let's set the rules here for this chat tonight, y'all, because I think a lot of people think this is an open forum. It's not. This is my show. I don't beg people to follow me. I don't beg you to watch me. If you don't like what I say, that's fine. But I will speak about whoever I want to speak, and you can feel free to stay or feel free to leave. This is my show. Yep. Thank you. Yes, I will. And if I want to say Piers Morgan is a putrid man, I will say that. Why? Because he is given more than enough to show that he does not. No, you can give your opinion, but I'm going to tell you right now, telling me not to give mine is not okay. Telling me I can't talk about a man who purposely goes after women, who purposely says men holding their babies is makes them less of a man. This is this toxic bullshit that we just say, oh, it's just how it is. No, it's not okay. And it ties into mental health. It's the reason why talking about mental health is met with distractions. Nobody wants to have the frank conversations when it comes to that. And this is a adult chat, y'all. 18 and up. So swearing is okay. I have allowed swearing in the chat to a certain degree. Don't get ridiculous with it. And I cuss. Nobody here is under the age of 18. I don't allow non-adults for that reason. We're just a chill area. Just relax, y'all. I really want to keep the topic focused, though. Let's not argue. It's okay. You didn't know. You're new. It happens. This is supposed to just be a chill evening. But it's hard to be chill because this is a serious topic for me. I was diagnosed at 18. My family didn't want to talk about it with schizophrenia. I am in my 40s now. The rate of people who get an early diagnosis, who don't get help, that live as long as I do, is not high. This is why the basic rules are be respectful in chat and just chill. I don't care if you like Piers Morgan. I'm not here to tell you not to like Piers Morgan. Be his fan. Understand that I'm never going to be there with you. That's it. I don't have direct rules because I've never needed them before. Most of us are adults. If you are over the age of 21, just chill and have fun. Feel free to talk in the chat. Everybody here is over the age of 18. That's my only rule. I am not here to babysit people's kids. So I just don't want people arguing over whether or not Piers Morgan is a piece of shit, because for me, he is. You're not going to change my mind on that. I've seen him over the years attack things that shouldn't be attacked. He has a very toxic viewpoint on everything from masculinity to who deserves what. I don't like the man. But if you're a fan of him, be a fan. I can't help you. My thing is, tonight's topic is dear to me because I have lived with schizoaffective disorder, and until about 4 years ago, talking about it openly was shunned. And a lot of families are like that. And I don't know if it's like that for some of you in this chat, but if it is, I need you. Yes, mental health is the topic. I need you to understand that putting your mental health is so important, and that nobody, whether they're family or friends, should ever shame you for talking about your mental health. That is one of the things that society still has not gotten right. We have known that there have been mental health issues for centuries now. We have had doctors become famous psychiatrists. We have people who get on YouTube and do famous psychiatry chats. So we know mental health is a serious thing, yet people don't take it serious. Schizophrenia is it's a detailed thing, but I can tell you my diagnosis, but I can also tell you that it's on the spectrum. It is a disorder where your mind does not formulate thoughts on the same level as other people. Sometimes you hear things and you see things, and you have days where you're not lucid, where I could be sitting right here having this whole chat and it might not have happened. And if you have never gone through that, and I know some people think, oh, that happens when you're high, it's a lot different. I mean, you can literally see, hear, feel, smell. Everything around you is so real to your brain that it is just like you are actually living it, but it's not going on. And that is the really deep part of schizophrenia that I think a lot of people can't understand. Because when you're not lucid, you can't tell you're not lucid. And when you're not getting help for it, you don't know that there's a problem. Another thing is with bipolar, which is a part of the schizoaffective, your mood shifts. So sometimes you get these bursts of energy where you're really up and you feel like you can do everything and anything. And then you're so scattered in your thoughts that you're really not getting a lot done. You might be stacking stuff and thinking you're getting stuff done, but you're really not doing much, but you got all this hyper energy, and then that crash comes. And it is a low that you just can't pull out of. And everything just feels like it's not worth it. You're hurting. You're in a lot of pain, and you can't like wrap your mind around it. And I don't think people who are going through this has ever felt like somebody can talk to them about it outside, professional help. Most of us have been told all of our lives, especially by those close to us, don't even admit there's anything wrong with you because people will look down on you. And you know what? I'm at the age, thank goodness, because I'm an older lady now, that I don't give a fuck. I don't care if people look down on me because of this. I am not doing anything shameful by putting my mental health forward. I want people to see the human side in this because too many people don't. And people need to understand that there is nothing shameful in having a mental disorder, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety. One of the things I realized as a kid growing up, because I had one of those big families that loved doing parties and get together, and they were all into sports, and everybody had to play a sport. I played volleyball, soccer, and softball. Those I loved sports, but I hated all the get-togethers, the loud parties, the noise. It got to me a lot. And we didn't have terms like introvert back in the day. So when I would go off to the corner to just read or get away from the noise, I got mocked for that. And people didn't have the understandings that we have today about mental health. They didn't understand the constant talking to myself, the constant mood shifts, and sometimes violent outbursts that I had was because it was frustrating. I didn't understand the forced social norms that everybody else just thought we had to do. And I still don't. Axiom can attest. I like my isolation. The only silver lining that I've given to this pandemic is that I don't have to justify not being around people anymore. And I know for a lot of people, especially in my age and older, Gen X especially, we've all felt this. We were the generation that a lot of us, especially if we were in a big family, had to come home, take care of our siblings. We were homebodies anyway. We were parents before we became parents ourselves. So for me, it was natural to want to get a life where I have to deal with less people. Holidays have been amazing now that I have my own house and stuff. I don't have a big get together anymore. I don't have a bunch of people coming over. That is what I want. And I know not everybody's like that. And that's why I want people to understand that mental illness is a spectrum in itself. There are people with schizophrenia who need people in their life, who need that constant reassurance that people like them. Not everybody's like me. I don't care who likes me. I've seriously got to that point in life where as long as I'm okay with my routine and who I have in my life, I don't care about anything else. That is part of the sociopathy that I embrace. I can disconnect those that need for validation that some people have. But there are people with these disorders that don't. And the last thing they need is to feel like crap because they want validation. They want friendship because they don't get it elsewhere. 20 years ago, that probably was me. Not as much as some people because I struggle with that. I struggle between that need to have people like me and not really care if they did. And I don't know if other people understand that. And yeah, Kilky, I'm telling you, I think there's something with people our age. We just had a lot of meh, whatever energy. That whole, it doesn't matter. We had adults telling us they were going to fuck up the world with nuclear weapons and only cared about getting rich quick and hurting people. And then we had other people who were just like, it was nothing to see people around me ODing themselves to death because drugs were everywhere and abundant. So those of us who were sandwiched in the middle of that nonsense, of our ultra conservative, well off family members and our hippie, happy go lucky family members, we just felt collectively numb. And I think being collectively numb along with my mental disorder more than likely saved my life because I am at that point in my life where I'm just here because I want to be here. And when I don't want to be here, oh well. So far, I have things I want to get done. But with mental health, not everybody's like that. And with sociopathy, a lot of people have misconceptions. A lot of people think because of the way Hollywood portrays sociopathy that we're all just killers waiting to score our next murder. Or even worse, we're out there just hurting people for fun. I can tell you something about being a sociopath and having a doctor look me in the eye and tell me that I'm one. While I like finding out things about people to a degree that might unnerve some people, I'm never going to use that against people unless I have to. I'm real enough with you to let you know that I would if I had to, but I don't seek to hurt people. And I think that is a popular misconception about sociopath, that we're just out there seeking to hurt people for pleasure. And like, I can't speak, I am not the spokesperson for sociopathy. I'm just somebody diagnosed as one. I can't go out and say not all. So I would never do that. Some of y'all like doing that. Some of you love doing not all because of your connection and stuff. I don't speak for other people with mental health issues. I'm telling you on my behalf, it has never crossed my mind to just hurt somebody just because. Now, have I hurt people fighting them because I was pushed to that? Yes, I relayed last Bonnet Chronicles. One of the things that scared me when I was younger, I chased this girl who spit on me through several floors up into the school building, into the girls' bathroom, and proceeded to punch her until I caved in one of her eyes. Literally had to get surgery because of it. And the only thing that saved that child was that I got tired. They couldn't pull me off of her. That level of anger should never be, but I know I can hit it. I've hit it twice after that. And each time that person was saved by the actions of another person. I laugh about it, but it really isn't funny. That is the danger of unchecked sociopathy. That is why getting help is so important. I don't want to commit violence. I know I'm capable of. I do my best to not be in the situation. And social media sometimes doesn't help that. One of the things that I've seen prevalent, people share it all the time, are those Karen videos. And I know that there are some people out there grown, oh, she used that word. I understand that for white women that don't want to be likened to that, it is a hard time right now. Use it to better yourself. Nobody's calling you a Karen if you're not out there behaving like that. There's no reason for you to feel like you're the target of that if you're not behaving that way. And that is something a lot of you need to understand. But when you see a woman pulling out her phone, blocking a car because she didn't like the way they parked, and she's going to call the police on them, that behavior is unacceptable. And I get leery, especially where I live, because they're full of them here, of running into somebody like that with the way I think. And I tell Axiom that all the time. I am not afraid of outside. I'm afraid of what I'm going to do to somebody outside if I run into somebody like that, because my switch goes from 0 to 100 easily. Exactly, Kilky. I think most Karens, because I went to school with a Karen, she was Japanese, probably just laugh it off, because you know if it's not you. That's why I tell people, even though black people are constantly placed in a monolith, I'm not here to defend all black people. Micheal Che just tried to lie and say his Instagram account was hacked, even though the person who hacked him just decided to use his vernacular, didn't steal any of his vital information, just decided to put out piss poor rape jokes. Then you have that idiot, the baby, who I don't listen to his music. I don't know much of anything about him because I'm pretty old school. But I know that if you're going around making HIV jokes and talking about how women's hoo-has need to smell like water, you need a better hobby and you need some humanity. Hey, Jones, welcome back to the chat, dear. But the acceptable levels of fuckery and bigotry is another detriment to mental health. How do you think it feels to women to have famous people on the stage talking about how our private areas should smell? Why are you even putting that out there? And young women, you shouldn't be cheering for anything like that. I don't even understand why that would even be something somebody with a brain would say. But from everything the baby has been putting out there, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a functioning brain. And then when elders like Questlove told him that ain't it, instead of stopping and reflecting, He's full of his ancientitis and like, oh no, I'ma do me. I don't even know who you are. Okay. Keep burning them bridges, brother. We'll see how that energy feeds you because you'll only have so many troll fans backing you up. You're going to need the people with more sense who actually have stable careers. For real, G. Feldman. Exactly. There is nothing funny about HIV. And for people to understand, coming from a time where it was a literal death sentence, where mass graves were in my hometown. Welcome to the chat zone, Knack. When I was growing up in New York, so do I. Warren G is an old time hip hop. I love him. For real though, growing up in New York City, especially during the 80s, seeing the way the AIDS crisis was mishandled, to have somebody in this day and age acting like it's a punchline is so unacceptable. And that's why I don't get in my feels when people want to talk about idiots like the baby, when people say cancel men like Micheal Che, or even Homegirl that got banned from the Olympics. I felt sorry for her at first because she decided after losing a family member, and I'm going red, so let me know if it stops, to smoke some weed. I live in a state where weed's legal, so I have no problem with that. But the Olympic Committee did. They're oh. Okay. Hopefully. Okay.
Give us a second, everybody, if you can still hear us.
If you can still hear us, yeah, it's doing that weird connect thing. I'm directly wired in.
So was I.
Yeah. Let's hope it starts up again. But yeah, I just is it working? It's still. It looks like it's still live. People's going.
Like it's still live.
Yeah.
So it might just be me.
It's red though, so I don't know. But yeah, the baby is. He is ridiculous. Let's because I'm definitely in the red. It's saying this back. Okay, good. But he is so pathological with his bigotry, and people have let him get away with it far too long. But other people have done it as well. There has been an uproar about that young lady that was suspended from track because she smoked weed. My issue wasn't that she smoked weed to mourn the loss of her relative. She had some very openly homophobic statements. And it's like we are in a day and age where if you have acceptable forms of bigotry, you don't need to be famous. It's not canceling you, it's the consequences of your actions. And too many people think I'm in a marginalized group. It's okay for me to punch down on people. It's not. And our community has a lot of reckoning we need to do with regards to the way we treat the LGBT. I say it all the time. I am not a perfect person. I don't come from a place of saintliness. I tell people on Twitter all the time, don't call me a saint. Every viewpoint that I currently hold has come from learning and stepping in it. I hurt friends before with my old school mentality. You grow up in the day where people used to make openly transphobic, openly homophobic, openly bullying, toxic culture. Don't act like you didn't laugh at times, even if you really weren't feeling it. And don't act like you didn't take part in it. That's the problem with people. That's why people refuse to learn because you don't want to admit when you mess up. One of the things I tell people all the time, the reason why I don't call myself people's allies because A, it's not my place to say I'm somebody's ally, but B, because I'm still learning and unlearning a lot of stuff. One of the reasons why I love wearing my bonnet for the Bonnet Chronicles is A, it's a part of my culture. But B, when I started wearing the bonnet, it was because I transitioned from perming my hair straight to my natural look. And yesterday I put out a photo of myself with my natural curls. And I said, it took me to the age of 44 to get to a point where I felt comfortable wearing my hair natural because a lot of that anti-blackness towards my hair came from my own family. My own mom does not like natural hair. She damn near permed all her hair out of her head because she thinks bone straight is the only way to be respectable. And when you have that cross culture, because my family is both black and Filipino, there is a lot of weird stuff you learn about what's acceptable in society and what's not. And I had to unlearn a lot of that because it's toxic. And I finally learned to love my locks in their natural state. And one of the things I do to protect my locks is wear bonnets. And one of the things I started doing when I started ranting about politics was kept the bonnet on. Hence, the Bonnet Chronicles was born. And hence why Friday nights I do these things in my bonnet. Now, tomorrow, when we do our Gen X thing, my hair will probably be in its buns or loose or wherever I felt like. But the Bonnet Chronicles was born as a way for me to celebrate not only embracing all my natural stuff, but undoing so many of the anti black stereotypes that I learned wasn't proper. Can nobody tell me how to be properly black? And exactly, Kelki. I think people don't seem to understand that we are not here to get things 100% right. Part of the learning process is understanding that we don't understand everything, but we can be there for people. We can let them explain things and take it in. That is how we grow. I'm not mad at people who ask me questions. I'm mad at the people who think they know. Like when I explained a few months back about the doctor with no uncertain terms, I trust my doctor. She has been very good to me, but she was point blank frank about me having sociopathy. So I decided to share that online because I want to frankly talk about mental health and the amount of friends who pretty much got mad on my behalf, telling me my doctor, thank you, Kilky, didn't know what they were talking about. My doctor understands mental health, or she wouldn't be doing this. She wouldn't be in her field. I understand that you have your idea of what sociopathy is. And if you go by the way Hollywood depicts it, it's not but serial killers. You gotta learn what mental health is because you weren't helping me that day. I broke down crying after that because I was like, there were more people upset at my doctor who has been helping me for being frank so that I could understand the treatment that I needed, the need to stay away from stress, to keep away from situations where violence could happen. I don't need you defending me or making me feel like a child over accepting my diagnosis. I need more people to learn what these things are. Learn the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath because some of you think they're interchangeable and they're not. I get that there could be a psychopath that is on the same level and thought as I am, but it would take a lot of factors to get that. And most psychopaths do tend to lean towards violence for pleasure. They're desensitized to a lot of different things, so they have to get that rush from doing things like that. I don't get that kind of rush. I am paranoid of having to do that. But I also know that I'm capable of harming somebody if I have to. One of the things that I've talked about in regards to raising kiddo is I am super protective of him. And one of the reasons why I couldn't wait to move from the South again is because I had to threaten physical violence to people. First was an old man who called my son the N word, who is very lucky I couldn't get my hands around his beefy throat. Gotta calm down. That anger level was raising. Thank you, dear. Just remembering, because my son was only 7 years old, and having somebody call him that, I just, the rage I felt at that moment. Then he was dealing with a bully. And having the school call you, you're at work, and tell you, your child just got hit hard enough for him to cry, but you don't have to come up, we'll handle it. No, no, no. No. I'm not going to beat somebody's kid up. I have enough wherewithal. But I went to the bully's mother as calmly as I could. Told her, I know where you live. If your son touches mine again, I'm going to kill you. And I made sure to say it in front of every other parent and the principal. Don't you know? Her son stopped bullying my child and his friends because I made it clear. And I made sure that her house was on my walk route so that she knew I knew where she lived because I'm not playing. Do not threaten my child's life. Do not put your hands on my son. And if I have to get to that level of crazy, well, I'm diagnosed. And I think people need to understand that. Seriously, though, I want people to have more respect for mental health. When somebody who's famous tells you that they can't do something because they're not mentally in it, it's not the time to mock them. It's not the time to make them a joke. Mental health is serious. When my mental health is at a low, I feel it throughout my whole system. My body hurts. My head cannot get into the game and I cannot focus. And you want people who want put themselves in danger in sports or have to get up and sing or perform in front of you to do that? Anxiety is a real thing. There are people who literally get locked up when the anxiety builds up. It is a real disorder, and you should never feel shame for feeling that way. Some people get it in small doses when you have to do something like if you're in school and you have to give a report in front of your classmates or you have to talk on the phone to somebody you like. You might feel a little bit of jitters and nervousness, but for somebody with actual social anxiety, it is like your throat closes up. It is like having an allergic reaction to something. And even with people I love, I have currently finished my first novel. I am working with an editor to get it finished. And she has been so mindful of my phone anxiety that I just want to give her a hug because most people don't understand phone anxiety. So many of us live on our phone, but they don't understand there's a difference between using your phone to text and look things up and actually having to have phone conversations. It can be exhausting and draining. And thank you for that hug. Exactly. I really think too many people don't understand the term sociopath. They don't understand the human side to mental health. And when you don't, it's real easy, especially if your whole career is punching down, like certain SNL comedian, to make people your punchline for putting their mental health first. Um, Twitter shared a very famous football player. Blanking on his name. I hate when I blank on these names. My cousin is in love with him. She wanted him to marry her. It's a whole big thing. He was a Seahawk. He talked about mental health. And people made fun of him for that because in football culture, especially, putting your mental health first, that's a pussy thing. You're not supposed to worry about mental health. You're a big, brawny football player. And Homeboy was like, no, mental health is important. Keep it together and get help if you need it. Excuse me. Instead of rallying around him, thank you, honey, people mocked him. They mocked that interview because they thought he was just being funny. He was giving y'all the straight up on why mental health in the football community is so important. We just had a story not even last month of a young man who was taken in by the police because the amount of head injuries that go ignored in the NFL is unacceptable, but the amount of emotional instability with these young men because there's a lot of pressure on them, not only to win, but to keep their bodies intact. That can get in your head. And if you're already suffering undiagnosed from mental health and you're taking blows to the head, that is a toxic cocktail. And too many people want to dismiss them. Oh, they're famous. Who cares? They make enough money. Why should we care about them? Because there shouldn't be a cutoff. You shouldn't say because somebody makes a certain amount or somebody's famous that they don't deserve to put their mental health first. You want them to win those big games, but you don't care enough about them to support their mental health being okay? That's not a fan. You can't call yourself a fan of somebody if you don't care enough about their well being for them to both physically and mentally be okay. We need people to understand the human side of mental health because without it, too many people don't get help until it's too late. And some people, they just end it. I look at people like Robin Williams, who is, for me, one of my most favorite entertainers of all time. I break up thinking about him because at his lowest point, he was alone and he took that way out. He knew there was no coming back, but at that point in his life, he felt like he didn't have anything else. Exactly, Terry, and welcome to the chat again, hon. It really does get that serious. The day I thought I was going to end it all, and I've shared this story online, and I probably shared it before in the Bonnet Chronicles, but I think it's important for people to hear. The night I was going to end it all, I had the suicide note wrote. I was ready. The thing that stopped me was my then best friend, Axiom, and my other friend, Rowan. That night, I don't know what got in them. They done talked me to death, kept me up till 4 a.m. just chatting away about every little thing. Neither one of them had any idea of what I planned. I wasn't going to tell anybody because I didn't want anybody trying to stop me. I was in pain. I had no idea what the pain was. I didn't know what was going on. Greg, for some reason at that point, told me, go to the ER. He goes, if your diagnosis is what you think it is, at least you'll know. Go. And he was never a forceful guy back then. We always joked around and talked. Something about his tone that time made me go, okay, I'm going to do it. Found out I was pregnant with kiddo. If I had done what I was planning to do, not only wouldn't I have been here, but kiddo wouldn't have been here. So it is that serious, y'all. And if you are at that point, it is okay. It is not your fault, but get help because I know that feeling that you're so alone that you don't know if it's worth it. It is. I didn't think I was going to be here at 44, and I am. My son is 16 because I got the help instead of doing what I thought would have been easier. It's not easy. And I know that we are still in a society that would rather mock you for having what you have. But that's not on you. I'm not gonna. But I need people to understand that your mental health journey is yours and you can't let what other people think about you getting help or admitting you need help get to you. Because for every person who wants to make you their punchline, there are so many people who will hug you, who will uplift you, who have your back. Hey, King Black Fang, welcome to the chat. I'm telling you, y'all, I love King. I love his streams. If y'all do not follow anybody but love gaming, go to King Black Fang for real. I'm gonna work on my shout out, y'all, too. I just feel like for people with mental health, it's hard because we're still in a place where admitting it is very hard to do, and having people understand you, but just know that even if nobody understands, no one should invalidate what you're going through. And getting help is so important. And thank you. And y'all are a part of that. I don't think people understand how much social media is social and how many connections I've made with all of you. And it's so much easier for me to talk about my mental health with the friends that I've made on here that have become like my family versus people who I share the same DNA with who really don't want me talking about my diagnosis, who still think it's shameful. I mean, they are the kind of people that don't believe that you should use your left hand either, so it is what it is. You know, you can't get rid of years of traditional and stigma overnight. And the more of us who are younger are starting to make things better, but there are still old diehards. And I know I'm far from the only family that goes through this. But I'm so grateful to all of you because years ago I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to speak up about this. I was still in the belief that it was stigma and it was shameful and that I couldn't talk about it. Talking about actually hearing voices in your head, clear as day. I tell people that my mind is a constant go. That's why a lot of times when I'm out, we have music going because it helps keep me focused so that I'm not constantly in my head. And having a partner that understands that sometimes there's conversations going on and I'm not talking to anybody on the outside. That is some of the things that having a partner that understands your mental health issues helps. Even if they don't completely understand it or if they do understand, that keeps you going. And what I want people who have this to know is that you're not a coward for having this. There is nothing shameful or cowardly about having mental health issues. It is a natural ailment. And that too many people want to act like it's a character flaw. And yes, people with mental health issues can have other things about them that aren't that good. Looking no further than YouTube, where I'm going to put the video of this up on. There are plenty of mental health cases on there that I wouldn't want to be around. You couldn't catch me around them because they have other things going on with them. Their behavior should not be excused because they have mental health issues. I say it all the time. One of the reasons why I want to speak up about mental health is I'm tired of people using that as an excuse. My actions are still mine. If I hurt you, I'm still doing it. I can't go, oh, sorry, I'm not right in the head. I get away with making you feel less than a human or calling you out of your name or doing something harmful. We have to stop that. You cannot codify people's bad behavior under the blanket of mental health because it does a disservice to those of us who are doing the right things for our mental health. It is unacceptable that bad behavior is classified as mental health issues. They're still responsible for their actions. And I don't care about, oh, well, what about the legal ramifications? If I decide on a day that I'm just mad and I'm going to physically harm somebody, I am still committing a crime. I do my best to not get myself into those situations. And I'm not saying that to act like I'm better than anybody, it's just common sense. And when I'm not lucid or when I feel like I'm not going to be all together there, I separate myself from people. I keep to myself and I keep myself insulated so that no issues happen because I've been alive long enough to know when things are off. And if you're not in that situation, you need a support system. And if you're a parent going through this, I know it's hard. One of my dearest friends is currently going through this with her adult daughter, and she doesn't know what to do. And I said the best thing you can do is just be there for her. It's not going to be easy. The days when I wasn't getting help were probably some of the roughest for the people around me because I didn't want to admit anything was wrong with me. And that is the worst place to be when you just want to help and you don't know what to do. All you can do is be there for them because I apologize to everybody I hurt during those times. And I've done my best to make up for them. And I've accepted the ones who were just like, nope, we're done with you. This is what you got to do. But I need people to understand that, you know, I can't explain everything about mental health in an hour cast. That's why I'm going to keep doing the vlogs. I didn't do one this week. I'm going to try to get one done next week so that people understand the human side to this because it's such a multifaceted thing and there is no one way to have this. But it is so important that more people speak up because we need to stop allowing the societal stigmas, the shaming, and more than that, the joking at our expense. Mental health is not a joke, and protecting your mental health is not only your right, but it's so necessary because anybody could be a step away from doing something that's irreversible because they don't think anybody's going to care. And people care. I care about all of you. So I hope that if you're not in the good place right now mentally, that you know that people love you whether you're feeling it right now or not. I love you, and I really hope that you do everything you can to protect your mental health. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. We've got a lot of good streams out there tonight. Friday nights are always popping. We're going to get ready to jump over to my friend True's stream. There's Axiom for those who want to see his face. Tomorrow, we're going to definitely do the Gen X cast and talk classic TV. We're also thinking about getting a Pokemon Unite game going soon, y'all. So be on the lookout for that. I love y'all so much. I love you too, King, for real. Good night, y'all. Thank you. We're going to upload this to YouTube. So, as much as this post will be, the whole cast will be on YouTube. Come by tomorrow. I like to upload it at midnight so that there's no technicality. Y'all have a great night.